Hi, it's James here from the Sprinkle Donut Forge in Moscow, Texas. And today we're going to do a simple little project. It's a farrier's hand tool, known as a hoof pick. And it's used for cleaning the frog and the horse's hoof out, which is the little part in the middle to get dirt and debris smashed into it. And it's something that's inexpensive to buy, of course. But a hand forged one is always neat, and it's a fun little project if you have a friend that's a farrier, or you just want to include some at the craft table at your local fair. So we're going to start with what I've got here, a piece of 1/2-inch round bar, and we'll proceed with making a kind of a decorative, comfortable little handle for it. I mean, literally, you could just bend this thing into a number 7, flatten the tip out, and chop it off, and you'd have a very quick and dirty hoof pick. But we want to make something a little bit nicer. So without further ado, I'm going to get this in the fire, get it hot, and we'll start working on the end for the handle. See you in a minute.
Move.
So you can guess what I'm doing is I have pointed this piece of material and I'm creating a little neck in right here, because I want to do that wraparound handle with the little folded leaf. Actually got a dislike on that last one I made with the leaf. It's alright, we're going to make this one. Back in. Square it up. I'll knock some of the lumps out. Straighten the equation. Now we got it squared from about right here to about right here, which is about, I'd say 7 inches. I want to go a little bit further, that way I can have a handle that's at least 4 inches long, 4.5 roughly. So I'm going to heat this area up and draw it out square, because I don't need very much sticking out for the actual pick end itself. Back in. Straighten it up. I don't know why I'm trying to get it a perfect square, just force a habit. Anything you attempt to do, always try to do your best. Anything less, you're cheating yourself. Alright, here we go. Here's what we got so far, from about here to here. Fold that over halfway, you figure you got you a decent handle. And I still got some material out here that I can sever to make the end. And before I bend this thing over and make it difficult to grab or put that decorative part on the end, I'll still be able to grab it with bolt jaws. I'm going to go ahead and cut off and work on this end. So we'll do that. See you in a minute. Alright, let's lop this off. As you move in a circle, you cut to a small nib in the center, and it makes it easy to snap the piece off. So you haven't really distorted the piece a lot. I know it's glowing, but you can see that little tip. I'm going to put that in the vise, hot rasp that little tip off, and we'll get back with you. So there's our little bull-nosed tip. There's our squared portion, and there's our little, what's going to be the little leaf. And I find it's kind of nice for a finger guard. If you didn't watch me making the coal rake, I did that sort of handle on it, and I'm going to show it to you. I know the leaf is pretty shoddy, but it's my rake, so I was just demonstrating. You can get pretty ornate with this. But when you grasp a hold of it, it's comfortable in the hand, and you have that little finger guard to clinch up to. So that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to work on the working end of the tool next, and when that's completed, I'm going to turn it around and we'll do the handle. That way it's a lot easier to hold on to in the meantime. So we'll heat that up and we'll see you in a minute. Alright, I'm going to draw the piece out, but I'm not going to start working on the tip. Because if you work from the tip back on a hot piece, what you're going to do is you're going to close that tip up and make a hollow in the center, and you'll have little cold shuts there, and that's not desirable in any circumstance. So if you've noticed, I've allowed for that by, instead of a blunt cut, I made that bevel cut on the hot cut, and I knocked the barb off and kind of bullnosed it like the end of a sausage, or a hot dog, or the end of your finger. You get what I'm talking about. That way, as the metal tries to move outwards and the center tries to push in, I'll be able to work on the tip some instead of starting way back. But just for safety's sake, I'm going to start back and work forward. Finish squaring the piece up, and then we're going to try to flatten it into a shape that can be curved over and upset back to create the attitude of a proper L-shaped hoof pick. So let's get it out of there and work on it some. It's ready. Square the whole thing up. Planish all the little bumps out at the lower heats. Because realistically, if you tried to knock a little dent out at a higher heat, it's going to mash more than you want it to. You just want to knock the dent out and land flush with the surface. And we call that planishing. Alright, and you look at the material distribution that you've got going on. It's got harder corners here, which is fine. I'm not really done with that. It's got softer corners here because I want to go more of a round profile, but I'm going to try to draw this out a little bit. So let's get it hot. Alright, I've got that down to probably about 5/16 of an inch at the end squarely, and I've got about 2.5 inches back squared up at a little taper. I'm going to come on back with that to about the 3.5 to 4 inch mark. Knock the corners down. Straighten everything out. Alright, that's good. Let's flatten it out. Make the little blade tip on the end. Roll it over 90. Quench it and tap it back. See you in a minute. The flattening. The 90. Put just a little bit of curve on that, just a little. Alright, I hope you saw everything I did there. Not too much to it. You can do this. So we got us a 90 with slight little incurve. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to heat this portion right here. I'm going to quench this tip that's sticking out. That way I can strike it with a hammer and drive this part down, creating a little offset to the back of this 90. So let's do that. Alright, let's quench that tip. Let's drive this back down. Planish what you can. Keep the corners knocked down on this portion, just for comfort. So there's what we're looking at. Little hoof digger. And it's thin enough where it's not going to be too hard to sharpen it. Eyeball it straight on and make sure that it's following the line of your shaft. Touch it up as necessary. Yeah, I think that'll work out real good. So now we're going to work on this other end. What I'd like to do, now that I have it all squared up, is I'd like to flatten this portion out here real good from this side to make it wider in this direction. And then I'm going to work on flattening the little leaf finial out, and then we'll see about rolling that around and making the handle. So let's do all that, and we'll see you in a minute with it. Alright, let's flatten the bulk of this out. You want to kind of taper from where it's square to where it's flat. Alright, that's looking pretty good on this portion. You planish just a little bit, get some of the bumps out. You want to leave a comfortable amount of the bumps in a lot of hand forged items. Just that's part of what makes them look so good. As you can see the footprint of the hammer and the work that was done to it. You see I flattened out a significant portion through here. It's kind of saddled there, but I've got my taper coming in. This needs to be flattened out to the thinnest, and even thinner yet on the leaf. So let's heat that portion, and we'll do that. See you in a minute. Alright, let's flatten it out. Work on that leaf. Alright, so you want to roll the leaf over opposite the way the little hook is facing. That way when you bend it back this way, it's facing forward. So, in essence, when you're looking at it now, knowing that it's going to be rolled over, if there's any decorative elements you want to add to the leaf, such as veining or textures, you need to do that before you roll it over. Knock that bump out there, that was kind of ugly. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. The face side of the leaf is going to be showing on the face side of where the little hook is facing. So if you want to do anything to that, you don't have to, but if you want to, now would be the time to do it. And then roll it over, and then you find you a place as a fulcrum to bend it, and once you bend it back, it'll be facing outward to be seen. So I'm going to heat this up, and I'm going to do a little veining. Why not? Let's do a little something to it to make it have a little more of the attitude of a leaf instead of just a spear point. Now if you were making some long medieval style hinges or something and you wanted that spade point just like it is, well, job well done, you've already done it. But we're trying to get the attitude of a leaf. See you in a minute. Alright, some cross peen texturing. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. I don't like using such a heavy hammer, but it has the right end on it. This is an old E-swing bought from a home store. Put a wood handle in it. It's 4 pound, a little bit heavy for this, but it's the shape of the cross peen I'm after. For certain processes, like doing this. I don't know how well you can see that texture, but just get your aim and your angle right and you can create a nice little feather or leaf texture. So I think I'm going to put a few lines in it. Let's heat it up. Now, I could have just stayed rolling. That was all of like 30 seconds in the fire. I'm trying not to knock this thing around. I'm not using a hold fast. I'm satisfied with that. Let's not go overboard. I might extend that line just a little bit there. Yeah, that works. That works for me. Sometimes true elegance is simplicity. Keep it simple. See, I put some little chisel lines in there on top of the texture. That looks pretty nice for a forged steel tool. So let's get it in there. We'll take the wooden mallet and we'll play with it a little bit. See if we can't get it to roll over on the back of itself, leaving the figured side facing outwards. See you in a minute. Lift the tip up, curve the middle over. And quench that half of that leaf off. Try to bend it back to us. Try to keep it coming down centered with the stock. Touchdown. Alright, we've done that. And it looks pretty cool, if I don't say so myself. So now what I've got to do is I've got to select an area to leave here by the head and eyeball the center of that area, which would be about right here. And that's where I'm going to focus my heat, and that's where I want to perform the bend and bring this all the way around to the front and create a little blacksmith style handle. See you in a minute. Alright, let's start this over the horn. Let's bring it down. Make adjustments as you see fit. Alright, we folded her up. That looks good, and I'm sure it'll feel pretty good. I think it needs a little more arc to it. Find something to grab this suitably. If you're holding that in your hand, you have to dig down a little bit. Well, that's good because it'll clear the hoof and the shoe and everything. Yeah, I think that's great. Well, we're going to heat this up one more time, and I'm going to drop a little touch mark right here above the leaf, and we'll cool it off and sharpen it and call it done. See you in a minute. Ain't dropped it yet, but there's always time. Good touch mark. Now while I'm thinking about it, arc that over just a little bit. I like that. Still straight, quench, sharpen, we'll be done. That's always so satisfying. Feels great. Feels wonderful. We'll set up by the 1x30, sharpen this thing a little bit. See you in a minute. That's perfect. Notice I sharpened it only from this side. That way it can be used as a scraping tool, and it will need periodic resharpening. See you in a minute. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to make this thing. It's real comfortable in the hand. It'll serve its purpose. And I want to give a big thanks to my patrons out there who helped me along with this channel, and I will continue to try to provide good educational or at least interesting material for y'all to watch. Well, that's all I got for this evening. Till next time, bye.